as a young leader, I really wanted to grow. And so I took every chance possible. When we change careers, change jobs, I think most of the time we're not prepared. And they never help prepare someone for what's actually going to happen when you walk out the door for the last time.
Welcome to the 513 podcast, where we talk about business, leadership, and legacy. This week, I sat down with John Smucker, owner of CoffeeCo. We talked about business transitions, family dynamics, and leadership styles. Here's how it went. Well, John Smucker, thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for being here. Would love to start off by just hearing a little bit about you, people that don't know CoffeeCo. Who is CoffeeCo? How many locations you have, and just dive into a little bit about that and even your family as well.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Appreciate it. We own, my wife and I own CoffeeCo. We have 5 locations around the county. We like to say we're in the hospitality industry. We also own a couple lodging facilities as well. We have 5 locations, opening up the 6th location in Ephrata in December.
Is it public?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't announced it yet, but yeah, it's public.
So this could be the announcement.
Well, I mean, we're opening one in Ephrata.
That's perfect.
That's what you want to say.
Yeah, that's great.
But we are opening, it's actually out in Lincoln, if you know where Lincoln is, but it's out a little bit northwest of Ephrata. So we have 4 kids, 6 grandkids, 1 on the way, 3 son-in-laws. So, and our kids live all over the world. So yeah, that's who we are.
Very cool. So with owning CoffeeCo, I would love to hear a little bit about your history as well before getting into CoffeeCo and how you landed at CoffeeCo and taking over. Can you share a little bit about your history?
Sure. So I worked in construction for 20 years before CoffeeCo World I even thought of existing. I was in construction in our family business. My brother Merv now owns that business, and I have 6 brothers and 5 sisters. All 7 of us at one time or another worked in that business. For a while, 6 of us worked together, but my brother Merv is the owner of that business now. So that was a large walls and ceiling company. So
What did you do there?
when I left, I was the director of operations.
Okay.
At that time, we had about 150 employees, plus we ran about 150 subs. So lots of interesting experiences doing that. Loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. I then spent 13 years in the nonprofit world. I was on staff at a church in the area. I was a missions director and family life pastor there. So spent a lot of time traveling the world, helping to further the mission. Also spent lots of time helping people during crisis, that kind of thing. So really enjoyed that. And then felt like it was time to do something else. And the opportunity to purchase CoffeeCo came up. Literally was on the way to a weekend away with my brother and actually our family. And my brother said, "Hey, I'm thinking of buying CoffeeCo. It's for sale." And I'm like, "I'll buy it with you." And we did. And so
What year was that?
That was in 20. We finalized the purchase in January of 2015. We bought that with my brother Merv and his wife. We were partners until 2018 or so. I think it was 2018 when we bought Merv out, and have continued to run the business since then.
Very cool. I would love to go back to your construction days. You were director of operations for how long?
Probably, I have to look at the dates, but I think I was probably director of ops for like 6 or 7 years.
Okay. Yeah. So during those years, I would love to talk about like different leadership tactics that you experienced or things that you learned during those years in construction, and then maybe that can come down to currently what you learned then. But what are some things that you learned during those construction years that really stand out to you, or some interesting stories in the construction world?
Well, I think one thing that I learned when I was in construction, and as a young leader, I really wanted to grow. And so I took every chance possible to grow as a leader. And so back then it meant going to conferences. There weren't podcasts or the internet or anything like that back then. But it was going to conferences, it was reading books, it was doing all those kinds of things. I think I took my first disc profile when I was 18,
Wow.
um, and began to study personalities and all of those kinds of things. And so over the years, that's one of the things that I've really tried to do is say, hey, how do I grow my leadership? And working in the business that we were in, there's always opportunities to grow and expand your leadership capacity and in the construction world. And we were a growing company. We had lots of great years. There was also some lean years. And so then you learn to, okay, what do you do during a lean year? And how do you figure out how to downsize if you need to? Or how do you learn to um, scale up if you have the opportunity? And how do you deal with people that may not be happy with what you're doing because maybe you're behind schedule? And it was a lot of those learnings of how do you diffuse a situation by staying calm, even though you don't want to be calm, you want to yell back at somebody.
But that's not going to
And
help.
no, that's not going to help the situation at all. And so I think I learned a lot through that. And yeah, I think learning how to work with different types of people was another big thing I think I learned. Our leadership team at that time was very diverse in our styles. And so we had to learn how to work together, and we had to learn to understand each other, and we had to learn to say, oh, I might not always be right, and I can learn from other people. I think one thing that about myself that I've learned over the years is I need new things to do every couple of years.
Yeah.
And so in the construction world, it was a new project. Many times it was a new position or a growth in position. So, I left Smucker Company as a director of operations, but before that I was the senior PM, and before that I was a project manager, and before that I was a supervisor, and for a while I led all of our small commercial projects, and so there was always a new growth option, a new possibility, and I've learned that about myself. If I don't have a new project every year or two,
Yeah.
I get pretty dissatisfied.
Yeah.
And so that was, I learned that about myself at Smucker Company. And in my career since then, that has been the case as well. And, when I was a pastor, it was every couple of years there was a new project. There was a new thing to do. There was, hey, we're going to take on this new responsibility. And so, yeah, so I've learned that about myself and learned how to kind of channel those things.
Yeah. That's cool. And when you were at Smucker Company, were they still doing mainly commercial, or were you doing some residential as well?
So when I started the Smucker Company in the 80s, we were doing almost all
Okay.
residential. And then sometime in the 90s, we switched to all commercial.
Okay.
And I left Smucker Company in 2004.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So you were there for how many
I
years?
was there for like 19 years.
Wow. How old were you when you started there?
Uh, well, I think I started training like the summer I was 14.
Wow. So then you were on the field for a couple
Yeah, I was
years?
on the field for a few years.
Yeah.
I'd work summers, and evenings, weekends
Mhm.
to make money, and then went full time right out of high school.
Yeah.
And yeah, and continued to do that. So I would have went full time like in '87,
Okay.
and then left in 2004. But I would have started there in probably, yeah, like 2000. I mean, in 1983 or something
Wow.
like that.
And so no
So
college education, but you went in and learned on the field.
correct. I mean, I've taken a couple college courses here and there, but yeah, no
Formal.
formal
Right.
degree. I've done a lot of other things to learn, but yes, no college education.
So what are your beliefs on college is good in certain regards, but I've talked to a lot of leaders that did not go to college and built incredible businesses. What are your thoughts on that? On like learning on the field versus college education?
Well, I think there's a lot of great things you learn in college.
Mhm.
So, my daughter graduated from Penn State with a degree in supply chain logistics. And so she has all of this like wealth of knowledge about that I would never learn if I don't study it.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the same thing happens if you work in whatever field you're in and you work with the School of Hard Knocks. Um, there are a lot of things you learn that you will never learn
Mhm.
out of a book.
Yep.
But there's also a lot of things that you learn out of a book that you may never really learn
Mhm.
in the School of Hard Knocks. So I think there's lots of yes, many business owners, successful business owners, have never had a college degree.
Mhm.
Uh, I do think that some kind of systematic learning is also important.
Yeah.
And for me, that was, it was a course here and there. It would have been a conference here and there. It would have been, 3 days away with other business leaders.
Mhm.
That kind of learning. That while it's not a course per se, it still is different than what I was doing in the field.
Yeah. How much of it do you think is a mindset as well? A mindset of learning and taking in knowledge and wanting to grow?
Oh, I think that's huge. I think we should be lifelong learners.
Yeah.
And if you're a lifelong learner, you're going to continue to look for those opportunities to grow and learn. I mean, today I'm still that way. I still am always looking for a podcast that I can follow or a conference that I can go to that will help me grow in an area that I'm not good at,
Mhm.
um, or strengthen an area that I am good at. Those kinds of things. And I think if we're not learning, then we have issues
Yeah.
because then we think we know it all, and that's not the case.
Yeah, that's huge. That's awesome. So let's fast forward a little bit to you were missions director at a church. I think that's how I got to know you originally. I think we went to a trip to Mexico in 2012. So we go back to then, I think, maybe earlier than that. I don't remember. Um, but what were some, I mean, construction to nonprofit world is a very diverse field of knowledge or experience. What are some things that you learned in those years that really stand out to you now?
Well, I think there's a lot of similarities
Mm.
actually, um, between the business world and the nonprofit world because you still have to treat people well. You still have to help people grow, whether they're helping you grow your business or whether they're helping you in your nonprofit world. You still have to help people grow, and you have to lead them well.
Yeah.
Um, all of those things are major similarities. If you don't do those things well in either world, you're going to fail. And so, one of the things that I think I really liked about the nonprofit world is specifically in being a pastor, I could bring hope to situations that were really dark. Um, or I could bring hope to people through things that we did around the world. I could help lift up organizations. I could lift up people out of poverty, or I could help lift up people or teach them how to come out of poverty. Those kinds of things are, to me, were really um, um, very life giving. So, and I think if you think about the business world similarly, it is life-giving. It can be really life-giving as well because I think about today, and I thought about this when I was at Smucker Company as well. We're providing jobs, and we're providing the lifeblood for people, um, for their whole family.
Mhm.
And if as a business owner, you realize I think as a business owner, if I realize that the way I treat this person, the fact that I'm able to provide finances for their life, um, I think it makes us think differently about the people we serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I think leadership in any regard comes back to people and how you treat people. And I hear that over and over again as well. And I've experienced that in my own life. The leaders that put people first are the ones that you respect, the ones that you want to engage with, the ones that you want to work for. And so I think Lancaster has a lot of leaders with that mindset. And it's really cool to see, like, you always wanting to go to conferences, like always wanting to learn and grow and improve yourself to be able to improve and help other people. I think that's beautiful and so important in all aspects of leadership and even just in life in general. So then you were there for what, 15 years?
I was at 13 years. I was at Worcester
13.
Center. I left there, and so we bought CoffeeCo in 2015. For the first 2 years, my wife managed the one location that we had while I was still on staff at the church.
Okay.
And then I left the full-time vocational ministry in August of 2017
Okay.
and went full-time.
And at that time, CoffeeCo only had one
At
location.
that time, we had one location. We were getting ready to open our second location, and my wife said, "I'm not doing that, and there's no way I'm opening up the second location, so someone else has to run this business."
Yeah.
And so as we talked through it, it made the most sense for me to take on that role.
Yeah. Before we dive into current CoffeeCo, I would love to hear a little bit about that transition from ministry to running a coffee shop, a cafe, a restaurant. For people that are maybe wanting to take a step of faith in that regard or like change vocations, what are some encouragements or challenges for people that are kind of battling that right now?
Well, I think that when we change careers, change jobs, I think most of the time we're not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that many employers, when you go to them and say, "Hey, I'm going to change my career. I'm going to move to another company. I'm going to do whatever," and they leave you, they're like, "Okay, see ya." And they never help prepare someone for what's actually going to happen when you walk out the door for the last time. So for me, I've done this twice after long careers at each place.
Right.
So when I left Smucker Company, I remember walking out the door saying, "Huh, I'll never go back there." Didn't expect that. But the interesting thing is, so you walk out the door, and the same thing happened at Worship Center. I remember driving down, walking out the door. When you walk out the door, nobody walks you out
Yeah.
unless they fire you. But if you leave on your own accord,
Yeah.
no one walks you out the door. No, they say all their goodbyes, but then you actually have that walk out the door where you're by yourself, and you're like, "Oh, that's interesting." And you drive off the property, and it's probably somewhere that you'll never go back in the same capacity that you were.
Yeah.
And so I think we're not prepared for the fact that, so you have friends, you have, well, let's say coworkers that are your work family, okay?
Yeah.
And if you have a healthy environment, you're going to have that. You're going to have some kind of work family where you have good relationships. You hang out with them. Maybe you hang out with them over lunch. Maybe you hang out with them at happy hour after work, or whatever you're doing. You're still working together. And so you have this community, okay? And so this community, you leave this community and you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And this community continues. And someone else fills your seat. And this community continues.
Yeah.
And you go over here and you start forming another community, and you don't realize what will happen when you leave that, because you think, "Oh, these people are my friends.
Yeah.
And I'll stay in touch with them," but you don't.
Yeah.
It takes major intentionality to stay in touch with them, and it can feel strange if you reach back into that community to stay connected. It doesn't feel near strange if the people in this community reach out to you.
That makes sense.
Because when you reach back, it's like you're reaching back into your old life.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone else reaches out to you, oh yeah, I'll hang out with you a little bit. And it doesn't feel strange because you're no longer part of this world. You know?
Yeah.
And so it can be, I think we don't realize what we grieve.
Mm-hmm.
So in both of my transitions, I've only had 2.
Yeah.
But in both of them, so I left Smucker Company, went to Worship Center, and in the 5 years after that, other than family, because I worked with family, only one person reached out to me and said, "Hey, how you doing? What are you up to?" That kind of thing. Only one person. And they were my friends.
Yeah.
I mean, you think they're your friends, and they are your friends. But friendships are about proximity.
Right. Yeah.
Friendships and relationships are all about proximity.
Yeah.
Unless you're family or you're really, really intentional.
Yeah.
And when I left Worship Center to do CoffeeCo, same thing.
Yeah.
Nobody reached out to me.
Mm-hmm.
One person when I was about a year out had left. So that feels really strange.
Yeah.
And it felt really strange and specifically because it was a community of faith, you think, oh, these are all my good friends. Yeah. I'm still friends with some of them, but not at the same way, not at the same level, because I'm no longer part of that community.
Right.
And so I'm over here in another community, which is great. And we make those choices, but we don't realize the impact that has on our life.
Yeah.
And so we grieve these things and we don't realize why we're grieving them. We're like, why am I grieving that? Because this is my choice.
Right.
Like, I'm glad I did this.
But it's still hard.
Yeah, but why am I feeling this way? You know, and so
the community changes so fast.
It does overnight.
Like, and you don't realize that until it happens.
Yeah.
And then
And so I just don't think we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
And I think when you're ready to go through a transition, you should talk to someone that has gone through a transition, because they'll help. If they're open, they can help you figure out what that transition might look like in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that movement of relationship is really interesting. And that's probably the biggest learning. I just think you grieve all these things you don't think you would ever grieve.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I think, when you're going to make a transition, I think you should do it quickly.
Okay.
Of course, in the business world, you say give a couple, I want my 2 weeks notice.
Yeah. Because
the business owner has to fill your seat.
Yep.
But like when I left Worship Center, it was a 6-month process. Well, you try to stay fully engaged, but you're a lame duck.
Yeah.
And same thing when I left Smucker Company. I mean, I think it was a 2-month process or something like that. But you sit in meetings and you're no longer a voice that anybody looks at,
right?
Because you're gone.
Yeah.
And so I think those transitions, for your mindset, should be as short as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you're in a large role in a company, you should have, and you're doing it well. You want to train your next person and do all of that, but it is the transition process for a person that is not in the leadership role.
Yeah.
And even in a leadership role, they're very hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to navigate this of being fully engaged while also being ready to move on and have vision for this next place that you're going to. Yeah. But you still have to have vision for this place. It's just really.
And then everybody else around you knows that you're leaving. So
yeah.
It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So they know you're leaving and they're like, well, he's not going to be here 3 months from now. Why does his decision?
Right.
Well, why should he make the decision?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah.
So.
Both of those are really good. Huh. I think going from that then, from Worship Center to CoffeeCo, and now having one location, about to open up your second location, I've heard from you multiple times that you guys have went through a lot of challenges, questions, just some hardships, but also joys. What were some of those key challenges that you guys pushed through early years of CoffeeCo? And kind of what can we learn from those challenges that you went through?
So, I think in the hospitality industry, and this is probably the case in many other industries, I'm just talking about the hospitality industry at the moment. So, when you have a small mom and pop business, you run it like a small mom and pop business. You run it like a small business where you do everything. And if you're ever going to grow your business, you have to learn how to work on the business. And people say this all the time. You hear this constant time. You got to work on your business, not in it. And it's so true, because if you are so for us, we had one location, we had 20 employees. Well, for us when an employee didn't show up, who was going to take it?
Yeah.
I was going to take that shift, or my wife was going to take that shift, or I was going to say to one of my kids, "Hey, we need someone to go work. Can you go work today?" Um, and so you're really kind of like one foot in front of the other, trying to make it through that time, because you're all that you have, and you don't have money to pay for other people you don't have money to pay someone to run the grill so that you can go work in the office.
Right.
No, you run the grill during the day and you do your other stuff at night. And so I think that's the case. So for us, we're 65 to 75, 80 seat cafes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a restaurant where you have 150 seats or 200 seats, it's a little different, because you have multiple levels of people that work in your business. So same concept. It's just one location compared to, multiple locations because of our concept. But when we went to 2, we still were that way. Went to the second location. We were still fully engaged in the management of both of those. We were working weekends. We were working every Saturday and Sunday. We were doing all those things because you had to put your nose to the grindstone, and that's the only way you're going to make money.
Yeah.
When we got to the point where we were ready to open our third, we realized, and we knew this was coming, to do that, we could no longer run the grill every day, or no longer serve people every day.
Yeah.
We had to then figure out, okay, how do we move from day-to-day operations to something bigger than that, to change my role a bit.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to run, we're going to have 3 locations. Somebody had to take care of the finances. Someone had to make sure we're hiring the right people. Someone needed to make sure that all of our processes were working, all of those things. And so we soon realized that to continue to expand, we needed someone in that role.
Yeah. So then you were able to find somebody to take on that role, and what did that do for you guys moving forward then?
Yeah, so what we did is we began to really work hard at training our managers, our general managers at each location. We worked really hard to train them to know how to do everything, so that when someone didn't show up, their first call wasn't, "Hey, John, can you come run the grill?"
Yeah.
Because if I went and ran the grill, if it was a payroll day, well, I couldn't go run the grill.
Right.
If we were going to get everybody paid.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we worked really hard to do that. And you continue to hire the right people. You continue to do those things that will allow you the ability to actually do the job that you need to do, not what you have to do that day.
Yeah. So it's less putting out fires and more planning ahead.
Yeah.
Or working. Yeah.
Yeah, much more of that.
Yeah. How does that look realistically, on letting go of? There's a level of control that you have when you're in the day-to-day operations that can be satisfying or rewarding for a business owner, because you're a part of it. You're in the weeds with everybody. And I think a lot of people enjoy that, or having their hand a part of that. So when you pull away and when you delegate more, I think some leaders find that difficult. So what was that like for you? And what kind of encouragement would you have for other leaders that are kind of in that midst?
Yeah. So delegation has never been hard for me,
Okay.
because I value what delegation
Mm.
brings. Now, I am a bit of a control freak. So, when I was working in a cafe and running a grill, I knew the food was going to be right. And so then you're right. When you release that, it does mean you don't have control over it.
Mhm.
And so while I am, and I was and still am, but kind of a bit of a control freak, I am aware and have been aware for many, many years that the more I release those things and delegate that to somebody else, the better it will be.
Mhm.
And most of the time, they can do it better than I can. And so I think that's a big thing when it comes to delegation. Um, if we realize that other people have skills that are better than ours,
Yeah.
it makes us want to. For me, it makes me want to delegate
Right.
because I know that, like, I know this about myself. I'm awful at details,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if I don't have someone on my team that takes care of all the details, I miss stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And so I've learned, hey, let's put this person in charge of this because they're going to do it way better than I am. Let's put this person in charge of leading our managers because they're going to do it better than I am. Because if if I was leading all of our managers, oh, there'd be stuff get missed all the time. And so, yeah, I've learned that. And so if I don't delegate well, or if I don't delegate, stuff doesn't get done. And then you have to learn who to delegate it to, and you have to choose the right people to do that.
Right. I think that's another huge aspect of delegating and growing a business would be hiring the right people.
Yeah.
How have you gone about that in finding the right people for different roles? And I'm sure you've made mistakes, but what's that process typically like for you in that hiring process, or even promoting process? Maybe
Yeah.
it's hiring within and not bringing somebody outside.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a combination. So we have, so of course we're constantly hiring people. We're in the hospitality industry. It's often a transition industry, and so we understand that about our teams. We are and do work really hard to make our positions, positions that could be a career,
Hmm.
whether it's a career cook or someone that wants to serve forever. All of those things are great. We love that. Um, but when you are promoting, when you're hiring people to take on roles, you have to make sure they fit. And when I say fit, it's not the task that they have to fit, it's the culture that
Mm.
they have to fit. And so we've tried very hard and we've made lots of mistakes. We really have. We've made lots of mistakes. But we try really hard to dig into um, the person we're going to hire to find out if they're going to fit our culture.
Hmm.
Um, and and I think we w yeah, like I said, we've made some mistakes. We've had some really good successes in that, um, but it's the questions you ask. It's getting behind the facade of the face that they have
Yeah.
the first time they meet you
Yep.
to figure out how they think
Yeah.
and to see if they think, along the core values of your business. And so you try to ask the right questions. We've streamlined this process and made this process much more systematic so that we're getting to those things
Yeah.
in the person we're trying to hire.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Um, So as you now have 5 locations, and about to open up your 6th, how's that like, what are some other, I don't know, fun stories or challenging stories that you experienced over the growth of those other 3 locations that we haven't really talked about?
Some fun, challenging. Well, um, every time you're looking for a new location, you have to determine how many rooftops are around it. Like when we opened up a location in Landisville in December of 2023,
Mhm.
and I was really concerned about that location because We're right along Route 283. We're like a half mile for 283. And on the one side of 283, it's all farmland.
Yeah.
And behind us, it's houses. But, we had to trust that the community was going to come to us. And I was pretty concerned because I'm like, look at all that farmland that's out there. And so the community has been very, very good to us. And so the thing and they've shown up, they've come, they've taken our food, they eat our food. It's all good. They pay us for the coffee that we give them. So we're super thrilled with that. It is interesting though. So people can love you and they can, they can love what you do. They can love your food. And then you make a change on something that they loved.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're like, what in the heck did you do to me? Like, why did you ruin the food that I made, that I love? Or why did you ruin your restaurant because of this? And it's interesting because people don't see the behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we made a change on how we season our hash browns. Well, some people love it. Some people love it. And so I was at one of our, and we got mixed reviews at the beginning, and we got so many people that loved them, and then we had this handful of people that hated them, and hopefully they didn't stay away because of that. We had conversations with some of them about it, and so it was just funny. A couple weeks ago, and we've now made this change 3 years ago, and so we're past people being mad at us. I think, I don't know, but I was at a location. And somebody said, "Hey, John, I love what you guys have done with your hash browns. Like, they are so good. Like, I come here just to have your hash browns." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, great, I love it." 2 days later, I was at another location, and I got accosted by someone in the parking lot. Said, "I can't believe you season your hash browns. What the heck is wrong with you? Nobody should do that. What? Do you even know how to make food?" Literally, they said, "Do you even know how to make good hash browns? Because I can't believe you've seasoned your hash browns. No one's supposed to do that." I'm like, "Okay, thanks for your input. See ya."
Oh,
Like,
my word.
I'm like, okay, so it's just so funny because you make these changes and people think they own you. But we do take lots of input from people, and
Right.
we want people's input. But once you make a decision, you know, sometimes people like it, sometimes people don't.
Yeah, and I feel like in this in your industry, it's challenging in that regard because you have so many customers and you can't please everybody. And so any change you make is going to upset certain people, and other people are going to love it. And so that's probably a very challenging aspect of your industry in any changes you make.
Yeah, it's very true. And so, and when they love it, they keep coming back.
Yeah.
When they hate it, they tell you. They might keep coming back, but maybe not.
Yeah.
And so for example, you have, we've had this. You have people that have come to you for years and they love everything about you, and then they have a bad experience and they give you a 1-star review.
Mm.
Well, they never gave you a 5-star for all the times that you served them really well and they loved you.
Yeah.
But then you have one bad experience, and we're not perfect. We are totally aware we're not perfect, and we make mistakes and we screw stuff up. But what we try to do when we do make a mistake, we try really hard to fix it.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we can do. I don't know what else to do other than try to fix it.
Right.
And, there are decisions that you're going to make. And this is the case in any business. There are times you make decisions based on maybe your profitability. Maybe you make it based on a trend. Maybe you make it based on, for a while we made decisions based on what we could get. Because of, like, during the pandemic, you had hard times getting things, and even today you still do. And so you make decisions based on those things, and nobody knows why you're making the decision, but you have to make this decision, and then people get irritated at you because you make a decision.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, though, when I have the opportunity to talk to people about why we make a decision, most of them are, "Oh, yeah, I totally understand. I would make the same decision."
Yeah.
So, for example, we closed all of our locations after 2:30.
Yeah.
And we did that back in 2021. And because we weren't making money. We weren't making any money in the evenings. And that was draining our cash flow from the rest of the day.
It's not like you didn't try.
No,
You
we
tried different
tried.
menu options.
Yeah, we did all
Like,
kinds of stuff to
right.
try to make it work. And we're like, you know what? If we focus on breakfast, brunch, and lunch,
Yeah.
we're going to be so much better. But my goodness, did we ever hear it
Yeah.
from people that, from the 5 people that came to us in the evening? I'm kidding. No, but literally, we became so much more profitable
Yeah.
because we didn't have the drain. Now, it did cost us in, like, when you're open evenings, you can hire teenagers and you hire a different group of people. And so that was interesting. But, that's one decision where, and we actually, a couple days ago, someone asked, when are you going to open evenings again? And we're like, never. And so, oh man, I just really like when you were open evenings. You know what? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but this is our model.
Right.
And so we can't please everybody.
Yeah.
We can do what we know is the best thing for us, and we can then help to educate people
Yeah.
if they allow us to.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. I want to touch a little bit on marriage and parenting as well.
I thought this was a leadership.
It is a leadership, which
podcast.
falls into that as well. And so, because we lead our households, and we as a parent, you're a leader, whether you're a mom or a dad. But as a dad, like, you're a leader to your kids. And so you have 4 daughters. Is that correct?
I do.
You have 4 daughters. I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And another kid on the way. Don't know if it's a girl or boy yet. But and then a wife of how many years?
32.
32 years. So it's a long time to be married and to work together in different regards. What are some marriage tips that you may have, or parenting tips?
So when I was at Smucker Company early on in my career, I would bring work home home, and not and sometimes physical work, but many times it was just mental work.
Mm-hmm.
I would constantly be thinking about what I needed to do the next day, those kinds of things,
Yeah.
and I began to realize that I was disconnected to home,
Yeah.
even though I was at home.
Yep.
And so I don't remember who it was that I was talking to about this, and they said, "Well, here's an idea." And I wish I knew who gave me this, because it worked so well for me. So they said, when you pull up to your house,
Yeah.
take off your hat. I'm like, okay. And they said, put it in the seat beside you, and then pick up that hat tomorrow morning when you come out. And so I did that for years is probably a stretch, for about an 8 to 9 month period. Every day, whether I had a hat on or not, I would take my hat off. I'd sit it on the seat beside me. I'd get out, I'd walk inside, and not think about it. Now, it took probably 6 to 8 months doing that every day till I could actually go in and say, I don't think about work anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the case for a really long time. So now I'm an empty nester.
Yeah.
It's not near as it's still important for me to be engaged at home when I'm at home, but we both work in the same business.
Right.
We talk about business a lot in the evening. We do all of that kind of stuff. But when I was in the years where my kids were young, it was super important
Yeah.
for that to be the case.
Yeah. What did that do in your at-home relationships?
Well, I was present.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes business leaders, owners, it doesn't matter if you're a business leader or not. I think a lot of times we're not present, and because we're thinking about everything else.
Yeah.
And so I determined I wanted to be present. I think I did okay with that. I don't know that I was great at it, but that was one tool that helped me be present. And I think, I think sometimes guys, or maybe not even guys, the person that comes home from work, while the other one has been home with the kids all day long, the person that you walk into. So for me, my wife was home with the kids all day long, so she was just ready to throw the kids at me. And I think sometimes the person that walks in feels like they feel like, what the heck? Like, I need my space too. But I think we have to realize that we're on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
And being present helps you be on the same team.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things that it helped Heidi and I be on the same page, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be present. I'm going to walk in the door and I'm going to be present. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't do other things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And, I played softball for years and played a couple nights a week, but I was still present when I was at home. And many times they would come with me, like those kinds of things, because if you're present, they want to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not present, they don't really want to be with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good.
I also thought this is another piece of advice, and I think sometimes as so in the stereotypical world where where m- especially if you have a stay-at-home mom
Mm-hmm.
and you have a business owner or somebody like that, I think we have to remember that the queen is the queen of the castle, but the king is the king of the kingdom. And by that I mean sometimes I would come home and I would want to control the castle when I shouldn't control the castle,
Yeah.
because my wife knows what's going on at home, knows what's going on with all the kids, knows what's going on and everything. But she she doesn't know what I was dealing with all day long, which is fine.
Yeah.
But if I can help her realize and take care of the big picture stuff,
Right.
she can do the job that she's called to do, which at that time for her was raising the kids.
Yeah.
And so when I allowed her to be queen of the castle, it made this huge difference, because and the other thing that it does, it allows the the king of the kingdom, it allows you to think about the things that are future, and it allows you to not have all of the thought process of, oh, what's going on day to day, and instead, hey, hon, what can I help you with today? And just do what is needed,
Yeah.
rather than trying to control all of
Yeah.
that. And I think that's a big deal.
That's really good. Any other parenting tips? I know you're an empty nester now, but you've gone through a lot. You have four daughters, and they're all great. And so, what are some tips to raising just awesome kids?
Well, I think that Heidi and I always talked about, we want to raise well-functioning adults.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about what you want to do in the end, which is raise well-functioning adults, what does that mean? And so for us, it meant we want to allow our kids to make age-appropriate mistakes.
Yeah.
So, meaning you don't do everything for your kid, and then at the age of 18, you send them out to go to college when they haven't made any decisions and they haven't made any mistakes in their life, because we've made all their decisions, or we've done everything for them. And so we've tried, worked really hard at helping kids make age-appropriate mistakes. So, for example, it was things like when they're in kindergarten and they were packing their lunch for school, you have a choice. You can have one of these, you can have 3 of these 5 things, or 2 of these 4 things, or whatever, and they choose.
Yeah.
It's not me putting them in their lunch for them, it's them choosing, so that then if they make a mistake in what they chose, it's not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's them learning an age-appropriate mistake.
Yeah.
When our kids were 12, we would say, okay, we're now going to give you the ability to buy the clothes that you want. We're going to give you the money to do it,
Yeah.
but it's your choice what you buy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they made a decision that they bought the wrong kind of shoes or whatever it was, it's an age-appropriate mistake.
Yep.
It's not going to ruin their life. But they're age appropriate. And so, of course, you help them make those decisions and you coach them through them, but you allow them to make decisions so that you're not the control. They can help control their
Yeah.
lives.
It gives them a lot of autonomy.
Yes,
like
it does.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Helps them learn.
And it helps them learn
Yeah.
that they have to be responsible for themselves. And so that was a big deal for us. We wanted our kids to not be perfect. I think another thing is get kids out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So every year we would take our kids on some kind of a missions trip. or get them out of our culture into another culture. I think that was huge for them because they realized that not everybody has what we have in America,
Yeah.
and it helped them, hopefully it helped them be more grateful.
How early did you start that?
When they were 5.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think
My
it was
oldest is
5.
going to be 5 next year, and I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool.
Yeah, in fact, for us, we went to the same place every year.
Mm.
Went to Juarez, Mexico every year for 18 years. And they would rather they would rather have done that trip than Disney World.
Yeah, that's really
That was cool.
wow.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward back to now and leadership within CoffeeCo. You mentioned a lot of conferences, books. Who are some leadership talking heads that you really respect, appreciate, that have meant a lot to you over the years, whether it's authors or speakers?
Well, I was just at a conference a couple weeks ago and heard John Acuff speak.
Yeah, awesome.
He was really good.
Yeah.
And his books are really good. I do a lot of reading of restaurant industry stuff, so that's a little different than most people. I learned a lot from a guy by the name of Donald Burns.
Okay.
He is a restaurant coach. We hired him for a while to be our restaurant coach. Really learned a lot through that relationship. That was really good. I love listening to the Craig Groeschel podcast.
Yeah.
His stuff is really, really good. I heard him talk to the owner of Hobby Lobby and one time. I mean, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think is really, really solid. I mean, if you're thinking about years ago, the big guru was John Maxwell.
Yeah.
I still think his stuff is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think people today say it in different words, but use a lot of the same principles.
Right. Yeah. Have you Unreasonable Hospitality?
Yeah.
From Will Gooding?
Yeah, I really, really love
Yeah,
that book.
yeah.
That was really, really good.
And that one's the hospitality
Yeah.
industry, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I think the other place that I learn a lot is I'm in a peer group.
Yeah.
I think that's a place to learn a lot as
Yep.
well, just gleaning off of what other people do and learning from them, their successes and their failures.
Right.
So I think those kind of relationships are really key in helping us be good leaders as well.
And I think what I've experienced as well, there's a big difference between passive learning and active learning, or even putting your learning into action. I think I went through a season where I just took in all this information, but didn't really do much about it. And so I think then it just sits stagnant and doesn't really do anything. How do you go about taking what you learn and actually putting it into practice?
I suck at it.
It's hard to do, right?
It is so hard.
It's fun to learn.
Yeah,
But then you actually have to.
Right. That's so ridiculous because you learn all this stuff and then you go back and you're like, I have all these notes
Right.
from the last conference, and I'm like, okay, now what do I do? What do I do? What do I
How
do?
do I actually put it in?
And I'm like, and then your day-to-day gets busy, and it's another 4 months till you ever go back to that, if you ever go back.
Right.
I do think that most of the time, if you walk out of a conference or if you walk out of a book that you've read with 1 or 2 keys, you can put that to practice. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
I don't, I try to say, okay, what is one big thing I learned here? Okay, I'm going to try to do that. Because if I try to do 3 or 4 things, I'm never going to do them.
Yeah.
But if I try to do one, I can usually get that done.
Yeah. And I think what I've experienced too is when you go through a book or a conference or a message, whatever it is, having a slight adjustment.
Yeah.
Like some sort of slight tweak that makes you 1% better or 1% stronger or more intentional.
1% better every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just kind of going off of that mindset.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about COVID for you guys at CoffeeCo. Because that was a big time, obviously, for everybody. It was a monumental time frame. What were some things that you learned or experienced that really stood out, that's changed the way you lead or communicate, or you do your day-to-day business?
So yes, COVID in the restaurant industry was very difficult. I think that we tried really hard to balance um, the what we were told to do and what we had to do to make ourselves actually be able to get through it.
Yeah.
And so I think the communication pieces of that were difficult. So so we did a couple things that some people didn't like. And so having to balance that and hear the people that are mad at you when you're just trying to make sure your staff has money
Yeah.
um, was very interesting. And I also learned that through that, and I think it goes into a lot of things in my life now, you can't make everybody happy. And you have to do what you feel is the best for you in that situation. Now, that doesn't mean that you go off the rails and, don't do anything that our leaders tell us to do, that kind of thing. You're still respectful of all those things, but you still, in the end of the day, have to do what you feel is right for your business.
Yeah.
And that can be sometimes not everybody likes that. And we were okay with that.
Yeah. And I think as any sort of leader or just a person in general, I think that's a very hard but good spot to get to,
Yeah.
where you can't please everybody. I think I went through a lot of my life where I was a people pleaser. I just wanted to please everybody around me. And I think sometimes I still struggle with that. But I think as I realize that I need to do the best that I can, and not everybody's going to appreciate that. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but that's okay. Not everybody can, or it's not possible to please everybody. And so I think that's a huge leadership tip, is that you can't please everybody.
It'd be nice to please everybody,
Right? Yeah.
but it is
It's
exhausting
Mm-hmm.
to try to please everybody.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's so important to know what your business is created for,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do that.
Yeah.
So for example, for us, we do breakfast, brunch, and lunch, and we serve great food and great coffee. And so that's our mission. We want to help Lancaster County be better because people come into our stores and hopefully they get a little bit of a respite from the craziness of the world, and they're better because they were with us. But whether that is a staff person or a customer. And so if you know what your mission is, then you can do that. And of course, there's all kinds of things that go into that. But if you know your mission and someone gets irritated at you because of your mission, you can say, no, this is my mission.
Yeah.
And that's not my mission.
Right.
If you want me to do that, that's fine, but that's not my mission. I'm not
Right.
going to do it.
Yeah. And then you can base your decisions
Right.
off that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So now CoffeeCo moving forward. So you have your 6th location opening up this winter. What's the future look like for CoffeeCo?
Well, I tell my staff that everyone in Lancaster County should live within 10 to 15 minutes of a CoffeeCo. So if we're going to do that, we might need to open a few more stores over the next few years.
Have you mapped that out? Like how many would you need to make that actually a possibility?
Yeah, we have mapped it out.
Okay.
We have an idea of what we need to do.
All right.
I think that if you're not growing,
Mm-hmm.
you start to get stagnant.
Yep.
And so I think as long as I own the business, we'll continue to grow.
Yeah.
How many locations, that still remains to be seen.
Right.
But I think you can expect more.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll look forward to serving Lancaster County.
Yeah. That's awesome. Any last leadership tips? Anything that really just is just really important to you, is foundational for your day-to-day life and how you treat people, and how you lead CoffeeCo.
Well, I think foundational for us is we want people to be better because they interacted with us than before.
Yeah.
And so I think that's foundational for us. The other thing that has been foundational to us is we want to see young leaders grow. And so we're always looking for the next person that we can put into a leadership role because they're working for us or they're working for somebody else, and they need a leadership role. And so that's been something that for years we've wanted to raise the next generation.
Yeah.
And so our goal is to help the next generation grow and thrive. And that really drives a lot of what we do. We do premarital mentoring, we do all of that kind of stuff. We do leadership classes, we do leadership courses at our business. We do all of those things because we want the next generation to have more and be better than we are. And if we don't do those things, if we don't raise up leaders, if we don't continue to help people grow, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the main things that drives us.
That's really good. Awesome. And then just a last bit of who CoffeeCo is, your 5 locations, and why people should come check out CoffeeCo.
Well, I think people should come check out CoffeeCo because we have great food and drink. I think the bigger reason that people should come see CoffeeCo is we're trying to help Lancaster County be better by the community we create.
Yeah.
And if we can create community together, Lancaster County becomes a better place to live and to work.
That's awesome. So you have Mill Creek, Lancaster.
Yeah, we have Mill Creek, which is along Route 30. We have Lancaster at Lancaster Shopping Center. We have Lidditz, which is in Bloomfield Square by the Lancaster Airport. We have one in New Holland. We have one in Landisville, and we're opening one in Ephrata.
All right.
In a couple of months.
So not quite 10 minutes from everybody in Lancaster, but you
Not
can
yet.
access them pretty easily.
You can get to them pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, John, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thanks for all your input, your advice. It was great having you on, so I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the 513 podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to follow us and subscribe and send this to a friend that might enjoy it.